Fifth graders, today we are studying topic 7-6. The objective that you need to write in your spiral is, I have already learned how to divide a decimal by a whole number. Today I will learn to divide a decimal by another decimal. Please pause and write this in your spiral. Connect to what you know. If you have $3.35 and an item costs 35 cents, how can you find how many of that item you can buy? Go ahead and write it down in your spiral and pause the video. The next thing I'm going to do is estimate. So I see 35 cents. 35, if I add a 0, like multiply it by 10, I'd get 350, and that's bigger. So I'm going to go ahead and try 9. So go ahead and put 9. So, oops, before I do that, I forgot. I'm going to go ahead and take 35 cents, and since I have two numbers behind the decimal, I need to multiply it by 100 so that I can move the decimal over here. And since I multiplied the divisor by 100, then I must multiply this by 100 too, and I have it right here. So now my problem is 35 goes into 335. I have two whole numbers, and that's easier to work with. Okay, now back. I said I would go ahead and try 9 because I estimated. So I went ahead and did the math because you guys have already done decimal or division. So 35 goes into 335 9 times. 9 times 35 is 315. Subtract, I get 20. I bring down a 0. Then I have 35 goes into 175 5 times, and 5 times 35 is 200 minus 175 is 25. Then I carry down my 0 and I have 250, and 35 goes into 250 7 times, and as you can see, I put all my work right here and checked it. Okay, and I subtract and I have 5 left over, so it's $9.57. Please do this work. Pose the problem. Aaron buys erasers for his pencils. Each eraser costs 20 cents. The total cost is $1.20. How many erasers does Aaron buy? Use the decimal models on your teaching tool to help you divide. First of all, I'm going to estimate. Okay, I know that I have 20, okay, and if I multiply it by 100, I have exactly 20 goes into, and I multiply this one by 100 too, the dividend, and I have 20 goes into 120. Well, I know that 2 goes into 12 6 times, so my guess is 6. I'm going to use the teaching tool to help me. So please get your teaching tool out now, as I do. It should look like this. What division must you complete to solve the problem? Well, it's division, because you are trying to divide it up into groups. Okay, first you're going to shade in 1 whole and 20 hundredths. So you would shade this whole thing in, and 20 hundredths will be 2 tenths. So just 2 of these. So if you'll go ahead and shade and pause the video. Okay, it should look like this. Now the next thing it says is to divide it into 20 hundredths or 2 tenths, which is the same. So each row, okay, there's 1. And then I guess I'll come up here for the second one. And then third. That way I can tell. And then fourth. And then fifth. Sixth. There are 6 different groups. So my answer is 6, just like I estimated. Now, if you'll go to Teaching Tool 21 and go to number 2, I would like you to shade in 2 and 4 tenths So that means you're going to be shading. You might need part of 1, 2 full boxes, and this is 4/10, but if I put a 0 there, it'd be 40 hundredths, so 4 more rows of a third one. So 2 whole things and 4 rows that look like that. So go ahead and shade those in and pause. Just wanted to make sure that you're doing 2 of these and 4/10. When you're ready, you may look at my answer. Okay, you should have 2 full boxes, just like I do, and 4/10 or 40 hundredths. Now, we're going to group these in groups of 3. There's 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And then 1 from here, 2 here, that's 3. Then down here, 1, 2, 3. You should be doing this too. 1, 2, 3. 1, oops, forgot. 1, 2, and 3. And luckily, there's 3 left over. Let's count how many groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, if I was to move my decimal by multiplying this by 10, I would have 24. And this is how you should be doing it. Divided by, and since I moved on my dividend by multiplying by 10, I'm going to multiply by 10 to get this, and I have 3. So 24 divided by 3, that's my 8 groups. So it works perfectly. Let's try some other problems. Always estimate to make sure your answer makes sense. Okay, if you will go ahead and write this in your spiral, 2 divided by 5/10, which is the same as 1/2. Okay, once you've got that, go ahead and write it down. Okay, and then I'm going to think to myself, remembering that this is like cutting 2 pieces in half. Mathematically, you would have a decimal behind the 2. Okay, right here you have a decimal. Okay, then you're going to have 1 right here in the divisor. So I have to multiply by 10 to get rid of it. So I multiply this by 10. And if I multiplied that by 10, it'd be right behind the 5. I would have to add a 0 on here to move this one over 1. So now my problem is 20. Whoops, my pen's not cooperating. Go ahead. 20 divided by 5, which is 4. Now, go ahead and write that out. 1 and 25 hundredths divided by 25 hundredths. I think to myself, I know that 25 hundredths is a fourth. So I'm going to be dividing this into a fourth. Okay. So what I do is I have to take my divisor, and I have the decimal here, and I move it over 2. It would be right behind here. So it would be 25 now. If I multiply that by 100, because I moved it over 2, then I multiply this by 100. So now my problem is 125 divided by 25, which is 5. This is the explanation in case you need it, but all it really says is when I move it, the divisor 2, I multiplied I also moved this one by 2, the dividend by 2. Let's do some more. Write this problem down. Now, try doing this one on your own and then look and check with mine. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is look at the numbers. I see 21 and I see 7. So I'm going to say that 21 divided by 7 is 3. Now, I see that I have one number behind each decimal, so I'm going to multiply by 10, so I do have 21 divided by 7, which equals 3. Okay, last problem. We have 6 and 6/10 divided by 3/10. Well, once again, there's one number behind the decimal, so I multiply by 10 and I get 66. I multiply this by 10 and I get 3, so 66 divided by 3. And it's 22. Now, you should be ready to do the spiral notebook on your own, doing some problems. So, here's what you need to write in your spiral. Your assignment is below. Don't forget to do your self-assessment also. Pause if you need to write this down. Here's your self-assessment.